Donald Trump spoke in Fort Dodge, Iowa over the weekend, and I traveled there to chat with his supporters, and as I'm sure you could have predicted, it was crazy. Well, I have a fresh batch of interviews with Trump supporters to show you, this time from Trump's speech over the weekend at Fort Dodge Senior High School in Fort Dodge, Iowa, and it was as wild as ever. We start with one that's pretty brutal to watch, honestly. So, as I'm sure you're aware, Trump some time ago called for the termination of the Constitution on Truth Social. And in case you haven't seen that, I'll read the post that I'm referring to in the clip we're about to watch. But every time I've asked Trump supporters about that pretty important post, I've never gotten a really straight answer. So someone actually reached out to the show and said, what if you pretended like Biden said that initially, see how they respond, then tell them actually that was Trump and see if they switch their view? That's exactly what I did, and here's what happened. Biden, for example, he says, let's terminate the Constitution. What would be your response to that?
Why?
Why? And would you say that's bad?
Very.
Can we read this Truth Social post from Trump? Right there, he says, massive fraud of this type magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, articles, even those found in the Constitution.
What rules and regulations?
All of the rules, regulations, and articles, even those in the Constitution.
He didn't say that.
Yeah, this is Truth Social post.
Dude, anybody can Google and make a shot like that.
No, I remember when he sent it out on Truth Social. I follow him.
Well, didn't Twitter not let him come back on?
Truth Social, his company.
The what?
Truth Socials, the account.
I don't have that.
If he said this, would that bother you?
No, because he's honestly taking care of stuff. He took care of it before.
I'll play another moment from that guy in just a second. But first, come on. Really, how do you not hear yourself and go, that's not logical? And that does sum up a common experience for me in these conversations. So many Trump supporters have conveyed the message to me that every bad thing Trump has ever said or done, he either didn't say it and it's fake news, or if he did, I don't care because he's just awesome. That's wrong, but Trump didn't say it. And if he did, then it's not wrong. Yeah, if Biden called for the termination of the Constitution, that would be horrible. Oh, Trump did? Yeah, no, never mind. Trump's the man. Pretty brutal. Plus, why do so many people, as I've said before, who support Trump not know the things that the guy they support, his name is on your shirt, is doing and saying on a regular basis? Very strange. Then in this next moment with the same guy, and this one is pretty wild, I asked him about Trump, according to his own former lawyer, communicating to those around him after he lost the 2020 election that it didn't matter. Rule of law be damned, he would do anything to stay in power. Like Jenna Ellis, do you know Jenna Ellis? She was a lawyer for Trump during the 2020 trying to overturn the results moment, and she said that Trump had communicated to all those around him, I'm just going to stay in power by whatever means necessary. Even though the results went the other way, I'm just going to stay in power.
Well, why?
He failed. Why not? That's not how democracy works, you.
Well, I sure as hell didn't like this guy coming in.
So when you don't like who's coming in, you can just ignore the rule of law?
He's not for the democracy. He's not for the Republic of America. Like, we all knew that.
I didn't know that. And there it is. When we say MAGA is threatening our democracy, it's not being hyperbolic. Trump is currently being prosecuted for trying to allegedly illegally hold on to power despite losing a democratic election through multiple schemes that ventured outside of the legal process we have in place to challenge elections. He attempted to do this. And the reaction from his supporters is, I don't like Biden, so I guess it's fine. And obviously what I wish they would contend with is, imagine if Biden loses to Trump in 2024 and then tries to do the exact same thing, just cry foul and refuses to leave office. They would lose their minds, rightfully so. But no, whenever it comes to Trump doing it, he says Biden doesn't support democracy somehow, so that's why Trump gets to shred the Constitution. Then in this next moment with a new guy, I ask about Mark Milley, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who Trump said in a past time would have been given the punishment of death. Mark Milley isn't a Trump bootlicker, so Trump hates him. And a member of the pro-military party had this to say about a lifelong military leader. Like, for example, Mark Milley. Do you know Mark Milley? He was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And he's
a scumbag.
So you believe the guy who dedicated his entire life to serving the country in the military
And he's a scumbag and a woke
is
person.
is less credible than Trump?
I believe Trump is better than Mark Milley.
Okay. And why is that?
Name is so. And you know, Mark.
So you're willing to throw away all the service and all the credibility and all of his life experiences in the military because Trump called him woke?
Well, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this interview.
Okay. And that one went poorly very quickly. So Mark Milley is reportedly warning of the threat that's posed by Donald Trump if he got a second term. That, I'm sure, enrages Trump. That's why he's raged about Mark Milley many times in the past. But this is just yet another example of Trump going above everyone and everything in the minds of many of his supporters. Mark Milley dedicated his life to serving the country in the military. And then the second that Trump says he's become woke, all of his followers hate Mark Milley. Pretty stunning. And then I just said back to the guy what he said to me. I don't know why that made him so upset. He said Mark Milley is woke and Trump's better. So I said, okay, so you feel like Mark Milley's service and credibility, that doesn't matter because Trump called him woke. And then the guy walked away. Very strange. Then in this next moment, and this one's honestly sort of sad, I walked through the zoomed out view of how these conspiracy theories about Trump's legal troubles don't make any sense. And this is how I think I'm more likely to get to some of the supporters, is to rephrase and reframe the conversation a little bit. Because when they say Trump's being politically persecuted and all these people involved are just trying to take him down because he's so wonderful and strong, my initial response, and the correct response, is, well, there's just no evidence of that. But obviously, that as a statement isn't going to be super compelling to them. They're not going to go, okay, well then never mind, there's no evidence, because they either don't care, they think there is. So I try to set the conversation of evidence aside and just say, zooming out, is it really more likely that the grand conspiracy that you're outlining is taking place, which would necessitate hundreds of people being in on it, or just one guy, Trump, did some stuff that is potentially against the law, and now he's being held accountable for that, and then he's lying, which he has an interest to do to keep supporters like yourself following him? And get ready, because it didn't work at all. He didn't even listen to what I said, it seemed. I need you to admit, it's not crazy to go, it's probably more likely that there's not the largest conspiracy in the history, and you don't even listen to my sentences, come on, in the history of the world, where every single judge, every single grand jury juror, every single prosecutor, every single person involved, every witness who's testified against Trump or who's going to and has already been interviewed, and all the stuff we're learning, all of that's fabricated. Or the one guy who has every interest in the world in lying to protect himself is the one guy lying. That's a lot simpler.
Here, let's go back to the 2020 election. And I saw this. Now, Milwaukee, they actually came up with more votes than the entire population of these pre-voting districts.
You need to check where you're
because you're son, you've been brainwashed with this hatred.
I'm just full of love. So for our podcast listeners, while he was saying the stuff about more votes in Milwaukee than voters, headlines were popping up on screen that debunked that talking point. We've gone over it in the past. And this is just so often the experience. I lay out some explanation about a certain topic and then go, thoughts? And they just charge forward as if I didn't say anything at all. Just one keyword hits their ear and they go, oh, the election, Milwaukee voter fraud. Unfortunate. And then I put together a pretty wild compilation of what some of the different individuals would respond when I ask who's currently in control right now. Because many of them, as we've talked about with past videos, don't think Biden's the president. And to different degrees, there's a belief that someone above that is actually controlling his every move. And as we've also discussed, when you dig a little deeper on these sorts of conspiracy theories, and as you'll see in the last clip in this compilation, it gets openly anti-Semitic in a pretty vile fashion. Who's currently the president right now?
Well, they say it's Biden.
What do you think?
I don't know who it is, actually.
Who's the current president?
Barack Obama.
I hear that a lot. I think that's the fourth time today.
Yeah, if that's you really want to know.
It isn't Biden. Cabal is group.
Evil men.
They're a group of people that want to control the world population. One of the values is to decrease the world population by 1/3.
Okay, people have health problems. That doesn't mean we
He's
just.
a puppet.
And who's controlling him?
There is a force, a hidden power. Who do you think it is?
God.
It's the central banking cartel. It's been a system that's been in place for about 250 years. And there's people, a little group of people, who literally has half the world's wealth.
Who are we talking about here?
You figure it out.
Do you have some names for me?
The Rothschilds, the Oppenheimers, the Guggenheims, the Schiffs, the Warburgs. The ones
So
that created
a
the,
bunch of
Federal Reserve System.
Jewish families, you're saying, are controlling everything and puppet
Not
masters?
No, they're but it's, there's a good part of truth to that.
So like we've talked about, the Obama still the president stuff, super common for some reason in the right wing right now. Then you have the belief that became really prominent during COVID, which is that the global cabal is controlling everything and wanted to decrease the population. So they unleash the pandemic purposefully. And that same cabal, I guess, controls Biden right now. But then with the last clip, so rarely are people willing to admit so openly the anti-Semitic roots of their beliefs in these conversations at events like this one. When we hear these talking points about they are pulling the strings and the globalist elite is really in control of everything and Soros is controlling Biden and on it goes, often, not always, but very often, people are just using a dog whistle. And if you do dig a couple layers deep, it gets real anti-Semitic. At the beginning, he said Biden's a puppet, and that's usually as far as people will go. But with him, you heard it. He went, yeah, there's truth to that after I asked him more point blank about what he was saying. The reference to a centuries old and dangerous trope that powerful Jewish people are puppet masters controlling everything. It's super frightening stuff, how prominent these theories are. And I'll remind you that we're seeing a disturbing rise in anti-Semitic hate crimes right now. So this garbage has real consequences and it's getting people hurt. Super dangerous. I'll be playing more of these interviews, moments that we didn't get to look at in this segment for our members. So if you want to see more of this, the video has already been published for our members. You can get access to it by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. You get exclusive content like what I just mentioned, plus the daily bonus show Monday through Friday, a whole extra show. Plus you support the work that we're doing, which is so greatly appreciated. Again, that's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. I'll talk to you all next time.